Okay, so General Motors is currently laying down chips on two massive bets. Real big ones that could define its future, and honestly, maybe the future of mainstream car making.
That's right. One bet is deeply technical, buried inside the car's electronics.
And the other? Purely geographic, focusing on a premium market they actually walked away from not that long ago.
It really is a fascinating study in corporate strategy, and the goal underneath it all is enormous. GM wants to create this sort of single car of the future.
Right, a car that's always getting updated, AI ready, maybe even drives itself someday.
Exactly. And here's the kicker.
Yeah.
They want this core architecture to work, whether the car is electric or still runs on, traditional gasoline.
So we're watching this fundamental internal shift, moving the car's brain from just a pile of, well, scattered parts.
To one single unified computer. Yeah. It's a huge undertaking.
So our mission in this deep dive is to really unpack this radical new approach. They call it the centralized compute architecture.
Designed to be the foundation for every vehicle GM makes globally.
Think about that. From a little sedan maybe sold in Brazil all the way up to a massive electric SUV here in North America, it's quite the scope.
And at the same time, we need to look at how they're using a premium EV, the Cadillac Lyriq, as the sort of tip of the spear.
To get back into Europe, right, a market they basically abandoned 7 years ago, that's a high-stakes return.
It is. And you need to understand, this isn't just another EV story anymore. This is GM trying to take the efficiencies, the digital breakthroughs pioneered by companies like Tesla.
You mean like the modern software development, the simplified manufacturing?
Exactly, the best bits. And universalize that across their entire massive global fleet. Gas, electric, doesn't matter.
Okay, let's tackle the technical revolution first then. Because if you've ever wondered why modern cars sometimes feel, I don't know, sluggish, or why updates are so complicated.
Or why fixing something simple can be maddeningly difficult.
Yeah, it often comes down to the old way of building cars. The industry calls it domain-based architecture.
Oh, that system. Frankly, it's a nightmare. For decades, whenever engineers wanted a new feature, say, anti-lock brakes, ABS.
What better climate control or navigation?
Right, they just buy a specialized little computer module, an ECU, engine control unit, usually from an outside
You
supplier.
slap it in the car.
Slap it in, wire it up, and you ended up with dozens, sometimes well over 100, of these little black boxes, each running its own software, often written by completely different companies.
GM's own analogy for this is perfect, isn't it? It's like trying to build something complex and modern using just a random pile of old Legos you found somewhere.
Instead of a proper integrated kit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the result? A massive rat's nest of wiring harnesses. We're talking miles of copper wire in some cars.
Which means huge complexity, makes simple software updates, or even just fixing a bug across the whole car.
Incredibly difficult. Almost impossible sometimes.
But it adds weight too, right?
Right.
Which is critical now.
Absolutely critical, especially for EVs where every ounce hurts your range. That huge tangle of wires, all those redundant little computers, it's a liability. If you were starting from scratch today, like Tesla basically did,
You wouldn't touch that old system. No way.
not a chance. Which brings us to the new standard, zonal architecture.
Okay. Pioneered by Tesla, now used by Rivian, lots of the advanced Chinese automakers.
And it dramatically simplifies things. You use fewer, more powerful computers networked across a single modern software stack.
The key difference is how they're arranged.
Exactly. It's about physical location. Instead of computers tied to a function, like one for ABS, one for the engine, they're tied to a zone. One computer managing things in the front of the car, one in the middle, one in the back.
Ah, okay, so that cuts down the wiring distance.
Drastically. Less wire, fewer connections, less complexity overall.
Now, this is where GM's strategy gets really interesting, I think. Their specific version is the centralized compute architecture.
Right. And the key strategic move, the thing that sets them apart.
It's propulsion agnostic. That's the term they keep using.
Yes. They're not just building this fancy new architecture for their Ultium EVs. David Richardson, he's a senior VP of software at GM, confirmed it. This tech will run across both electric and gas vehicles,
From the smallest, cheapest gas car they sell somewhere internationally.
all the way up to the massive, super premium electric Cadillac Escalade IQ.
Wow. Okay, that is the dividing line, isn't it, between GM and most competitors right now?
It really is. They're trying to unify what used to be two completely separate development paths, gas and electric, into one single digital brain.
The potential economies of scale there? for a company GM size.
Potentially unprecedented, if
Yeah.
they can pull it off.
Okay, let's break down the hardware a bit, because it sounds like they've streamlined it into just 3 key parts.
That's the idea. At the core, you have the central computer, one single unit.
Liquid-cooled, apparently.
Yep, liquid-cooled. And it handles the functions that used to need something like a dozen separate old-style modules. It's the main thinking brain for the whole car.
So, like replacing 12 old laptops with one really powerful, dedicated gaming PC that runs everything.
That's a pretty good analogy, yeah. Handles safety, infotainment, everything.
Yeah.
Huge bandwidth, centralized control.
Okay, part 1. Then there's the connectivity module. That sounds straightforward.
It is. Radio, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, 5G, wireless, all the connections to the outside world.
But my favorite detail, the one that really signals how different this is physically inside the car, are the 3 aggregators.
Ah, yes, the aggregators. They're crucial. They act like relays.
So they gather up all the data from sensors and
There's like hundreds of sensors in their particular physical zone of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And they funnel all that information back to the main central computer.
Okay, but here's the revolutionary part, the detail you said we absolutely need to remember.
Right. These aggregators,
Mm-hmm.
they replace the standard fuse boxes.
Hey, hang on. Let's pause there. The end of fuses. Are you serious? Fuses have been in cars for, 100 years? Designed to melt and stop disaster.
Gone. Or rather, replaced. It's a huge shift. Instead of a little piece of metal melting,
Uh-huh.
the aggregators use control circuits, solid-state electronics, to monitor the current flow.
Yeah.
If there's an overload or a short,
It just shuts down digitally.
it precisely shuts down the circuit digitally,
Mm-hmm.
and it can often be reset digitally, too, via software. No more digging around trying to find which fuse blew.
Wow. So fewer physical things to fail, maybe faster repairs?
And potentially big cost savings in manufacturing. You ditch
Yeah.
the fuse box, you simplify the wiring harness even more. It's a massive engineering step.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense for an EV, where space and weight are everything.
Right.
But if this system is going into every GM car, gas ones too.
Yeah.
That brings us back to a challenge you mentioned earlier, cooling.
The cooling challenge, yes. That central computer, doing all that work, it generates heat. It needs efficient liquid cooling.
On an EV, that's relatively easy, right? You just tap into the battery cooling system.
Exactly. EVs already have a dedicated, low-temperature liquid cooling loop for the battery pack and power electronics. You just plumb the computer into that.
On a regular gas car, you
Yeah.
can't use the engine coolant, can you? It's way too hot.
Way too hot. Engine coolant runs, 180, 200, maybe 220 degrees Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
You try cooling a sensitive computer chip with that,
You cook it.
you'd melt the silicon.
Damn.
Exactly. So this means GM had to engineer a completely separate, dedicated liquid cooling loop just for the central computer.
In every single internal combustion engine vehicle that gets this new architecture.
That's right. That's a pretty radical addition to a traditional gas car. Adds cost, adds complexity where there wasn't any before.
All just to enable this unified software platform and future features.
It tells you how serious they are about this whole propulsion agnostic strategy. It's not just talk.
And the timeline for this rollout, when do we see it?
It officially launches in 2028. Starts with the big electric caddy, the Escalade IQ.
And then rolls out quickly across the rest of the lineup, even into existing cars.
Apparently so. Retrofitting it into current generation platforms. That's the plan.
Okay, so this huge technical investment, this standardized software, it's not just about making better cars today.
No, it's the foundation. It enables GM's really big ambitions, robotics, AI, autonomous driving, and, crucially, achieving global scale.
And achieving that scale means winning back markets they left behind, which brings us perfectly to the second big bet, Europe.
The geographic bet, yeah. Remember, GM essentially pulled out of Europe in 2017, sold off Opel and Vauxhall.
Their presence there now is tiny, right? Just
Yeah.
niche stuff like the Corvette, maybe the Cadillac XT4.
Pretty much minimal. And historically, Cadillac has really struggled in Europe. They just couldn't compete seriously against the German giants, BMW, Mercedes, Audi.
Yeah, they often had issues with brand perception, resale value.
Definitely. But now, they're trying again. And the crucial difference this time,
EV only. They're not trying to sell gas Cadillacs there.
EV only. Betting entirely on the future. Using that Tennessee-built Lyric EV on the Ultium platform as their spearhead.
And the rollout sounds quite deliberate. Switzerland first, back in late 2023.
Then Sweden, France, Germany, just recently, May 2024. Slow and steady.
What's also interesting is how they're selling them. Not through traditional dealerships.
No, they're going for a lean, direct-to-consumer model, websites, plus a few small, fancy flagship stores in key cities. Zurich, Cologne, Frankfurt, Hamburg.
Trying to control the whole customer experience end to end, very much like Tesla or Polestar.
Exactly. But this strategy hits a pretty big hurdle almost immediately, one that you, the potential customer, will definitely notice.
The price. Let's talk about the pricing dilemma.
It's critical to get your head around this. In the U.S., the Lyriq is positioned quite competitively, starts under $60,000 often.
Okay, reasonable for a premium electric SUV. But what happens when that same car lands in Europe?
Sticker shock, big time. The starting price in Switzerland, CHF 82,000, that's nearly 90,000 US dollars, or about 85,000.
Wow. And in Germany.
Starts around 80,500, so roughly 80,500 US. We're talking almost a $30,000 premium compared to the US price.
Just to ship it across the Atlantic, why so high?
Well, GM points to import costs, taxes, tariffs, and also the fact that the European models are apparently loaded with premium equipment as standard. Less choice, more features baked in.
Still, that is a massive jump, a huge barrier to entry, surely. How does that stack up against the competition over there? Are they trying to win on price, or...?
They're definitely not winning on absolute price against everyone.
Yeah.
Their play seems to be undercutting the traditional European luxury rivals while offering arguably better specs.
Okay, like who?
Like the BMW iX xDrive 40. In Switzerland, that starts higher, around CHF 95,900. And the Lyriq offers significantly more range, about 329 miles, versus the EMW's 264 miles.
Ah, I see. So against the established German luxury EVs, the Lyriq looks like a better value on paper. Better range, lower price, lots of standard kit.
That seems to be the angle. Competitive on paper, good equipment levels.
There's a big elephant in the room, isn't there? The car that's kind of dominated the European EV market for years.
The inescapable comparison. You cannot ignore the Tesla Model Y, particularly the long-range version.
Right. How does the Lyriq compare to that on price and range?
Well, the Model Y long range offers very similar range to the Lyriq, around 331 miles, basically identical. But the price, in Switzerland, the Model Y starts around CHF 55,990.
Okay, wait. 56,000 Swiss francs versus 82,000 for the Lyriq.
Yep, the Lyriq is significantly, undeniably more expensive than the Tesla, and GM knows this.
So what's the strategy there? How do they justify that huge price gap?
They're banking heavily on the Cadillac brand itself, positioning it as a cultural icon of American luxury, hoping the distinctive styling attracts a different kind of buyer, someone who doesn't want the more utilitarian common Model Y.
So a bet on style, brand heritage, maybe a more premium interior feel.
And crucially, a superior digital experience, which brings us right back to where we started.
Back to the software, that new centralized compute architecture.
Exactly. GM needs this high-margin EV push in places like Europe. And that push has to be supported by these massive upgrades in software capability and bandwidth. That's how they eventually deliver on the big promises: autonomy, AI.
Even while they keep selling gas cars for years to come.
Right. But if those Lyriq buyers in Zurich or Berlin don't get a truly seamless, slick, high-performance digital experience that feels light years ahead of their old BMW or Mercedes,
that $80,000 or $90,000 price tag is going to be a very tough sell.
impossible to justify, probably. The technical bet completely underpins the geographic bet. They are totally intertwined.
So we've taken quite a deep dive today into, well, the potential death of the humble fuse box in your car.
Replaced by a central, liquid-cooled computer brain.
And GM's simultaneous, really high-stakes, EV-only return to Europe with Cadillac. Two very different kinds of bets, but both relying fundamentally on this idea of technological standardization, a unified digital core.
That's the essence of it. GM's ultimate strategy here is profound, really. They want to take the manufacturing efficiency, the simplified engineering that was kind of forced on them by designing EVs like the Ultium platform.
So zonal architecture.
Right, and universalize that technical control, that digital foundation across their entire global fleet, gas and electric.
And if they pull that off, the ability to iterate software features, control costs internally.
It could be at a level traditional automakers have just never managed before. True standardization.
That potential is huge, but the sources we looked at did mention something important: teething issues.
Ah, yes. New complex software platforms rarely launch perfectly smoothly.
Exactly. So given that Cadillac is targeting a very picky premium segment in Europe with that super high pricing,
And buyers who might already be skeptical about Cadillac's history there, resale value, tech reliability.
will GM's new centralized compute system, debuting in just a few years, be stable and reliable enough right from day one?
Will it be good enough to convince those luxury buyers? especially when they're paying such a premium.
That really feels like the multi-billion-dollar question, doesn't it?
The future of GM, certainly their global ambitions, might just hinge on that software delivery being absolutely flawless from the get-go.
Absolutely. That's a really fascinating thought for you to mull over as the whole auto industry keeps changing so rapidly. We certainly hope this deep dive gave you a clearer picture of GM's bold twin strategies.
Yeah, it's a complex but crucial story to follow.
Definitely. And hey, if you enjoyed this conversation, if you found the insights we pulled from the source material useful, please do consider following the channel.
It helps us know what you find interesting.
It really does. And if you feel like it, maybe consider buying me a coffee. There's a link in the description. Your support, honestly, it makes a huge difference and helps us keep digging into these kinds of complex topics for you.
We appreciate you listening.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.